Today's episode comes to you straight from the Foundation Insurance Services podcast studio, your home for elevating voices, inspiring leaders, and building the community one conversation at a time. If you're enjoying the journey, we'd love for you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach even higher.
But, ultimately, bro, I have way more fun doing the podcast that I do on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at in my life now is like, how much time do we have left? 30 years. I mean, if I die when I'm 82,
Right.
I have 30 years. I'm 52 now, so I've already, I can live the last 30 years of my life having fun and doing what I want and maybe make some money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's my goal.
Hey there, welcome back to Above and Beyond, where excellence meets elevation. I'm your host, Jan Simon, and this season we're raising the bar, diving into the passion, purpose, and defining moments of leaders who don't just aim high, they live there. Big ideas, real stories. Let's get into it. Today's guest is Eric Lopez, and this is one of those conversations that hits both the business mind and the human heart. Eric is an entrepreneur who has built, sold, and completely reinvented himself through different seasons of life, including selling a business for over 7 figures.
Sir.
But what makes his story powerful isn't just the success, it's what came next. Now, Eric is leading the charge with the AI agency USA, helping businesses use AI voice technology to become smarter, faster, and more efficient. At the same time, he's on a deeply personal mission to improve his health, grow mentally and physically, and become the best version of himself at 50 and beyond. So, if you've ever wondered whether it's too late to pivot, rebuild, get healthier, or chase a new version of yourself, Eric's story is proof that your next chapter might be your most powerful one yet. Eric Lopez.
Thank you very much, man. Awesome. Yeah. That's it.
So, hey,
Let's
welcome.
wrap it up. Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on. I think I met you about a year ago when I started APN, maybe a little bit before that.
Yeah, I remember really our first, encounter was the beanbag tournament.
Yeah.
And they told me you were going to be the mayor of Mesa is what I had heard. So I didn't know. I thought it was true at that time.
Yeah, no.
Is that not true?
I don't know. It's funny because Frank has me in his phone as mayor.
You know what's funny about that? I still have Frank in my phone as Frank APN.
Oh, no
I
kidding.
still keep everybody in my phone.
Is how you
I
met
lived
them?
out here. I moved out here 11 years ago.
Okay.
And I still keep everybody. And I purposely don't go back and change it.
Yeah. That's
Because
so crazy.
I just like to have that kind of grounding or bring it back to like this, or maybe not to even blow him up more, or not Frank particular, but any person of, like one of the guys that I met early on coming out here, Dan Aker, he's a Chicago guy, Chicago cop, still on my phone as Chicago Dan till this day. And I met him 11 years ago and have hung out with him a million times.
Yeah.
But I'll never change that on my phone because he's still Chicago Dan to me.
That's pretty crazy.
That's how I just keep it, like.
Well, someday, like 10 years from now, I'm going to ask you how I'm in your phone because you'll have.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, right. It's just Jan.
Yeah, right.
Nothing exciting.
Cornhole Jan.
Yeah. I don't know that I like that so much.
You're not in there, is it?
Yeah. No. So let's start this out the way we start out with everybody.
Okay.
What did growing up for Eric Lopez look like?
Oh, man. So I grew up in a small town in Illinois.
Okay.
4,000 or 5,000 people. My dad left. I have an older brother who's 3 years older than me. He's currently a D1 assistant coach at Youngstown State baseball. He's pretty much the one that I look up to as my dad.
Okay.
My dad left when I was 1. He was 4. And
Your dad was 4?
my brother was 4.
Oh, your brother was 4.
And I was 1. My brother was 4. And he left. My dad left us and moved to grew up in Illinois.
Okay.
He left and went to California. And my mom raised us. Mm-hmm. And so on Father's Day, I always tell my mom, Happy Father's Day.
Nice.
Because she's the one that...
She's the one that did
She's
it.
the one... She did it all.
Nice.
Now, I had a stepfather when I was about 5 years old.
Okay.
She ended up getting remarried, and it was pretty cool. My stepfather was the original Jim Abbott. He had a hook on his hand.
Yeah.
On his right hand. So on his left hand, he had a hook. So he worked at a tile cutting, which is where my mom met him. Was at a tile manufacturer. And he had stuck his hand in too far one day, and his hand got chopped off.
No kidding.
So he had a hook on his left hand. So he would when he taught me how to play baseball, he would do the Jim Abbott. He would catch
And
on the right hand,
drop his hand. Unplugged
take it off, and then throw back, with the
with
right.
the same hand.
Yeah, and he taught me how to play baseball, and so for years, he raised me. Things were going really well when we were younger. My brother went to West Point.
Oh wow.
He was accepted into West Point. Great childhood because of my mom doing what she did, and my stepdad really stepping up and teaching me how to be a man. Because my dad chose not to do that.
Yeah.
I did. We did start. I met my dad for the first time when I was 7.
Okay.
He came back to visit from California. My grandmother lived in Illinois. My dad came back to visit, and first time I met him, I knew he was married. I was only 7, so I didn't really know what that meant. But he had a girlfriend with him, and it was funny because I remember going home and still to this day going back and telling my mom that I met my dad for the first time, but he had some lady with him that wasn't
you.
wasn't her
My mom.
or his wife at that time.
Oh really?
A whole nother person.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh
so
my
it was
gosh.
just chaos from the beginning of and that's how it just
Wow.
that's the way it's started out.
Yeah.
And, thank God for my mom and my stepdad who, chose to take us under his wing and grow us up to be the men that we became.
Yeah.
You
just have the one brother?
I have one brother.
Okay.
Yep. And he went to West Point. He ended up dropping out after 4 or 5 months of being there because it was just
Too strict.
insane of what they. When he got accepted, we had generals come to our house to interview us. It was nuts. Like we're sitting in our living room. I'm 15 years old. He's 18, so he's already graduated, and he's going to graduate. And he was top 4 in his class of the school. And I went to a different school, but they came to interview us and all this kind of crazy. Like it was pretty crazy. But it's all because of the way that my mom is just a superstar. We were the only thing that mattered to her.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was my brother and myself that mattered, and it was nothing beyond that. It was just she wanted to make sure that we were.
And you stayed in the same town.
Same
From
town,
birth all the way through.
Stager, Illinois.
Okay.
You're talking about
Is that close to where?
30 miles south of Chicago.
Okay, because I know Ted Bleefnick's from somewhere up there.
Ted's from Decatur,
Okay.
so he's a little bit south of that.
South, okay.
Right. So I went to University of Illinois, which is probably where I grew up, and where I went to college Ted was kind of like between of where we were at, right?
Okay.
But yeah, so that was it. I mean, my brother went to West Point. I was a great student. He went to a private, to a public high school. I went to a Catholic high school my first few years. I did great. I was top 10 in my class, top 10%. Played baseball, basketball, football, did everything. And then sophomore year, I decided to, and by that time, we had already been traveling back and forth to California. I used to my brother and I would, Christmas Day, we'd open presents at the house. My mom would drive us to O'Hare, and we'd fly to California. We landed at Ontario Airport, and we'd go spend Christmas break with my dad.
Oh, wow.
So 3 times a year, we'd go to California. We'd go spring break, Christmas, and the summer for like 2 weeks or whatever. And
So he was literally Disneyland dad.
it was incredible because we'd go out there, and
Did you ever go to Disneyland?
we went for 7 years old. First time
Okay.
I went out there. My dad in California ran a construction company, owned it. He
wow.
ran it. He made a lot of money. So it was like we would go out there, and it was just like spoil for the week, 2 weeks you're out here.
Yeah.
And you know what? It caught up with me because by freshman year of high school, I'm like, why am I living with my mom when I got nothing and I can go live with my dad in California? So I don't know, for anybody who's ever flown into Midway Airport in Chicago, I call it's just the road of gloom. So I would literally leave Ontario,
Sunny
California,
Southern California.
palm trees, beautiful.
Yeah.
Christmas. It's January. So my dad's birthday was January 1st.
Oh, wow.
Still is. He's still alive. I haven't,
It was.
I haven't talked to the guy in probably, I've talked to him once in 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And the only time I talked to him was because my cousin was in town, and she's like, let's call your dad. And I was fucked up, and I was like, let's call him. And then called him, and I just started bawling my eyes out and talked to him for like 10 minutes. And it was like, I never want to talk to you again, and then haven't. And so we would fly. My brother and I would literally open presents on Christmas morning, fly to California, spend 2 weeks out there or whatever, Christmas break, and then January 3rd, we're flying back from California. You land at Midway.
Freezing ass cold.
Freezing cold. Dark, 40, 20 below.
Yeah.
It gets dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So you land, it's already dark, and then you're driving down Cicero Avenue, south, heading back home, and you're just like, I just left paradise. And so that's the reason.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I live here. Because my dad actually ended up later in life, when I was 20, he ended up having a house out here. So he used to do stucco and windows, like home improvement stuff.
Okay.
So he had a home improvement company in California. That's how he blew up, and brought it out to Arizona. And in 74, 94, I came out here, and I spent a summer with him. He had a house at Thomas and Scottsdale.
Okay.
And I spent a month out here in August, and was like, I love Arizona.
This is where I'm living.
This is where I want to live.
Yeah.
And that's so the only good thing that came out of the thing that the guy did for me was at least let me know that I wanted. I would have never met the West Coast or knew about the West Coast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so for that, I thank him. But other than that, it was growing up, my mom ran a tight ship, cracked the whip. There was no wrong with her. She's still like that to this day. I was afraid of her always. I was a straight A student. I did great. But then I moved to California, and I moved in with my dad.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. And that was my sophomore year of high school. I left Marian Catholic High School, which is a great high school in Chicago Heights, Illinois. A lot of history there of that school. And went out to California. Ended up going to Damien, which is in Laverne. And that's like Mark McGuire went there. Like a bunch of all boys school. So I ended up moving out to California, went there. And but my dad didn't really give a shit about, what I was doing. So it quickly went downhill. I missed a couple weeks of school at one point. Like he took his whole company on a trip to Lake Havasu. Okay. One time. And I didn't go to school for the whole week.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I had older friends. I was playing in Chicago. I was playing baseball, basketball, football, all three sports in high school. But when I moved to California, I get introduced to drugs, and I started smoking weed a lot, and started bowling. And I gave up all my other sports for bowling. Now I did bowl in college.
Okay.
So bowling is very.
You're the third person I've had on this podcast that
really?
bowled in college.
Really?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. So bowling became very big in my life, but I gave up everything else. I gave up baseball. Like I was a good baseball player. I was a good, basketball player. I was good at all that. But when I moved to California, my dad was a big bowler, and so I left my mom. I went to go live with my dad. And started bowling, and then my mom actually divorced my stepdad. Well, at that time, she just left and went to California because she had heard about me
not going down that path.
Not right. So she left her husband, who raised me, the guy with the hook, came out to California, moved in with my dad's mom.
No kidding.
And lived there for probably 4 or 5 months. Until the end of my junior year of high school, when finally my dad and my brother and myself had kind of all got into almost a physical altercation. And I called my mom and said, let's get out of here. And we ended up moving back to Chicago.
Oh, wow.
So then I ended up graduating high school in Chicago. But in the meantime of that, I had become big into bowling. So I went back to Chicago, bowled. A big part of my life. Ended up high school, senior year, didn't know what I was going to do. And the University of Illinois, which I ultimately ended up graduating from, came to present the school to us and just say, like, go. And I didn't like the lady who presented it. So I'm like, I don't want to go to school there. So now, a couple weeks later, I'm watching the PBA bowling. and it was Mike. I think it was Mike McDowell was the president of the PBA, and he was bowling. And they're like, he went to West Texas State University, and I'm like, well, that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to West. I went to college in West Texas State University, Canyon, Texas.
No kidding.
20 miles south of Amarillo. To bowl. To bowl.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but
No,
oh my God.
It's crazy. To bowl.
Yeah.
To bowl.
Yeah.
So I go, this is a college of 4,000 people. Wow. Because it's a suitcase college, they called it, where you could drive down from Amarillo and you would go. So the only people that lived there were like the basketball players that moved from different areas and all that. So that's who I became friends with, was the guys from like the Bronx, and a guy from Chicago. There was another, lived in like the hood from where I, like right around the corner from where I lived. And, and then I thought I was going to be king bowler. I go down there, I'm the man. I'm averaging, 205 in men's leagues. So I'm going to Canyon, Texas, and I'm going to be the man. I get down there and I'm the third team. I'm 15th
Because they're all so good.
Oh, they're ridiculous. You got the women. There was 10 women that were better than I was.
No way.
Oh yeah, And so about 6 months into there, we're living in a dorm and we smoke a joint for some stupid reason. And the cops come and we end up getting arrested, and they take us in and they want to kick us off the bowling team.
Really?
So I'd moved there to go to bowl. And so after that happened, I was like, well, I'm out of here. I'm going to leave. And then ended up moving back to Chicago, did a year of community college, and just bowled. I mean, I was bowling my uncle, and we bowled in men's leagues. I bowled 5 nights a week.
Wow.
And so I did. I just bowled. I hung out in bowling alleys. I bowled my ass off, making money bowling.
Yeah.
And look at that. I need this for my stories. And so then I did a year of community college, and then I ended up going to University of Illinois. So in 1995, I went to University of Illinois, and then, which is crazy because if you go, I went to this school in Texas. There was literally 5,000 people, and their bowling team was way better than the University of Illinois, who had 50,000 people. Right?
That crazy.
So we go to there's a tryout for bowling, and I go to the bowling tryout. In the first game of tryouts, I shoot a 297.
Oh, no way.
First 11 and then a 7. And they're like, oh, you made the team, and then, so that was it. So
have you ever thrown a 300?
I have one 300 sanctioned. I have a couple in practice, and then I have one ring. I did shoot a 299. So when I bowled that 297 in practice, the bowling coach came up to me and said, hey, we have a men's league on Monday night. I want you to be on my team. And I was like, all right, yeah, 100%, So then I did bowl a 299 first. So I'll go first 11, 10 pin, and then a few weeks later or months later, I shot a 300.
That's impressive.
Cool.
I've never come close. I mean, not even remotely close. I think I've gotten 2 strikes in a row before.
Yeah. But I mean, I've bowled probably 10,000 games too.
But there was I was roped into playing in this men's league in Mesa. This is years ago, 20 years ago. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But there was a kid that was there bowling, and I swear to God, every time we were there for league, by the time the night was over, everybody's standing watching because he'd do the same thing.
Well,
he'd roll the first, 8, 10, balls, all strikes.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, and then
Well, there's a couple of dudes from out here that are like
legit.
the guys. They're like on tour and like.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. There's a few good bowlers that are. They do the 2-handed thing though. I never do that thing, but.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, growing up, I was a perfect kid until I was 15.
Moved in with your dad.
And I moved in with my dad, and I met a bunch of older guys through the bowling alley, and it just turned into total chaos. Started drinking, smoking weed, and there was a point where, I was almost going to not even make it through high school,
You mentioned your mom, obviously massive influence on your life.
Unbelievable.
Was there anybody else through that time, coach in high school, anybody that you look back on now that had a profound influence on who you became?
The only person is my brother. My brother, because of what we were handed, and he was older, became the manly influence. My mom was the manly influence as much as she could be. I had an uncle, my Uncle Manny, who was unbelievable to do, the things that he did, and aside from being, like to help raise somebody when it's not your own child. But my brother, I could never think that dude enough.
Yeah.
Man, I'll cry right now.
Yeah.
Thinking about how.
Is he still around today?
He's the one he's the D1 coach at.
Oh, that's right.
Assistant
that's right.
coach
Okay.
at Youngstown State. He's
Okay.
3 years older than me. It's just me and him. And he didn't have to choose to take that role.
Yeah.
He could have just been like, because me, as selfish as I am, I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I would have been like, oh, he's cool, right? He's cool. But he has always made sure that it's almost like my life's more important to him than his own.
That's cool.
And it's unbelievable because, and so, yeah, so my brother Rodney, love you, you're the greatest guy, and he's the one who taught me to be the man that I am.
Okay.
In all regards, coaching, I coach baseball. I coached my son from 8 to 18. I coached really good teams. It's on my list here to talk about.
Yeah.
I had a top 100 team in the country
No kidding.
for Perfect Game. When there were 17U, a bunch of my guys are playing college ball right now.
That's awesome.
And I the way that I became the coach that I was by emulating my brother.
This episode is made possible by our partners at Built Different Restoration. When water, fire, or mold damage hits your home or business, you need a local team you can trust to respond fast and do it right. Learn more at builtdifferentrestoration.com.
Shout out to Guidance Alliance, a trusted peer advisory group for business owners who want honest answers, not motivation posters. Small groups, weekly sessions, ideas that actually work. Visit guidancealliance.com to learn more.
When you look back on the decision to move to Southern California to live with your dad for a while, and that whole shift, because you went from 3 sports to one you'd never
3 sports and top 10% of my class.
to bowling. And I'm not putting bowling down.
No,
but you
100%.
went from those 3
100%.
to something you didn't do, we'll say. Do you look back on that now and think, what would my life be like had I not done that? Or do you feel like that experience helped shape you into who you are today?
All right, so let's get into other stuff. So I graduated University of Illinois in 1997.
Okay.
Right. Ended up going to work with my mom and my brother. We did third-party Medicaid billing for schools in Illinois.
Okay.
Right. And we did it with, my mom was an administrative assistant for a guy who owned the company, and that's what we did. But in 2000, we were entertaining buying him out. It didn't happen. I don't know. If people want to listen to this, they may either hate me after this or love me. I don't know which it'll be.
I like to believe the people that will look at you poorly after they learn whatever the story is aren't worth having around.
No, I would, dude. I would. So I could care less about that. Like, now, because I'm real. I can't make shit up. This is what it was.
Right.
So whatever. Bold at U of I, whatever.
So let's go back. Let's go back to the question. I mean, unless you want to continue down.
Ask the question.
I just want to. I want to rewind a little bit because you have this period of your life.
I'm up for anything. That's what got me. That's the part of the story you'll hear.
I don't know what it is. I think it's important to note. Had you not gone to California, do you ever step back?
I think that's what it was.
Do you ever step back and think what it'd been like?
Okay, that's exactly.
Different. Yeah.
The short answer to that is, I will never change anything that has ever happened to me, even though a lot of fucked up things have happened to me.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's what I was getting to.
Okay.
Now, went to U of I, graduated in 97, went to work, right? Everything was normal. Decided I was going to go back to grad school.
Okay.
I was going to go back to University of Illinois for grad school, which I did for almost a year.
Okay.
But within that year, one of my best friends who lived back home, I lived an hour and a half away from University of Illinois. Okay. Ended up, can I say this? I was selling pounds of weed.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think
Daily.
the statute of limitations is probably run no matter where we are.
No, well, that doesn't matter now. I'm not worried about that. I'm talking about the people. That's what I was saying. That's where I was getting to about the fact that the people who hear the story that was the whole point of it.
If people get the
But that was then. Now guys are millionaires on doing what I did then.
right, exactly.
Right.
Well, and obviously it's legal now in a lot of places, so whatever. But it's one of those things for me. We won't go down the philosophical road. But the point that I'm going to make is, I feel like if people try to dig up things in the past to make you look bad today, it's because they're weak, because they don't have.
So the thing about that is that I can't even say that those things. You can't. It made me the person that I am today.
Well, absolutely.
So it's like if you are. If somebody frowns upon, most people don't know the story. I have a felony. I have a felony.
Okay.
Right. Most people, now they know from watching. But
all
that's
24 people know.
24 people, right? But that's something that most people. So I was in grad school.
Okay.
At University of Illinois. I mean, I went to U of I, graduated from there, went back home, managed restaurants. We had our own. It was called golfaway.com. Like, we invented Groupon before Groupon was invented.
No kidding.
We called it golfaway.com, and you would go to different golf courses. So we would go to different golf courses and say, well, you guys want to be part of our book, our coupon book.
Yeah.
Give 3 rounds for $5 off or whatever. We'll put you in the book. This is before Groupon was ever invented. Myself, one of my best friends, Dan Goldstein, who graduated he was my roommate in college, he ended up going to grad school, and he's the one that got me to go back to grad school. So we did golfaway.com. We went to all golf courses in the Chicago area, as many as we could, and get them to be in our golf in the coupon book. You would pay $19.99 to be a member of the site, and you would get these discounts to all these different courses. I mean, Groupon was not even invented yet.
Wow.
Right? And we were so close. We went to Michigan and did a round table with these people that wanted to invest in the company. And this is 1999 maybe, or something like that.
So right when computers were just coming out.
We had this meeting and we're like, these guys are going to invest. Like, we thought we nailed it. Like, we ran a golf show out in Chicago. There was always the big show. There was the Rosemont show, and there was a Southside show, and we ended up buying the rights off of a guy, and we ran the show, and we thought, it was really close. We thought we were going to blow it up, and we had, found a kid that invested in us, put like $30,000 in, and we thought we were going to blow up, and whatever. It didn't happen. So my buddy at the time that we were growing the company, he did the Jack Tiano or whatever bartending school. He ended up then going to manage restaurants and doing all this. He's like, and then finally he was like, I got to get a real job. And I was like, all right, I'll take over. So now I went to bartending school.
Okay.
And then I did the Jack Tiano school, and then I started managing a restaurant. Like, I managed restaurants for 4 or 5 years in Illinois after grad school. And then I was like, okay, and my buddy talked me into going back to go to grad school. So I ended up going back there and literally would drive back and forth from Champaign, Illinois to Chicago Heights, Illinois every day and pick up a pound of weed and drive back. And I was making $500 a trip.
Yeah.
And back then, this is 1990, this is 2003.
Yeah.
Right? That's good money. The last trip that didn't make it, we were supposed to leave to Miami the next day for spring break. And I'm like, I'm making one more trip, guys. I remember I had $1,300 stacked cash sitting right there to take to Miami tomorrow. I'm going to go do one more. Drove back home. Well, home, because it was where my buddies are.
Yeah.
On my way back down, get pulled over. £1.5 of weed.
No kidding.
This is 2003. And the guy pulls me over, and he's like, you got anything in the car? And I'm like, I didn't even, I'm like, yeah, I do. Like, I do, And it was in my Illinois back. There was not a backpack, but like more like an attaché or whatever,
Okay.
So I had my computer in there, and it said University of Illinois on it. and the weed was in there. And the cops called the school and told them that I was transporting weed. Now, I was not transporting weed to students. It was to guys that were just lived in Champaign. But they called the school and told them I was transporting drugs. And you got to remember, this is 2003 before weed was ever legal, right? And I got kicked out of grad school. I was a year into grad. I was 3/4 into grad school.
Wow.
It was March 30th, and school would have ended May or whatever. So I remember going I went to finish the finals, and the finals I just go just like A, B, A, whatever, finish it, leave, because I knew I was kicked out anyways. They were like, the final's supposed to take 2 hours. You finished in 15 minutes. So well, they didn't know. None of their students knew that I was already kicked out of school. They were going to let me finish that year, and that was it, right? Wow. So I think that was a question of what you asked. Yeah. So I would never change anything that ever happened in my life, even though one of those things was getting arrested, having a felony, going to jail for a few days, right? And for 20, so I could never get a job. I was at University of Illinois Business School, MBA, bro. Yeah. If I come out of that motherfucker, I'm making $300,000, $400,000 a year doing a job.
Yeah.
But I would never change anything that ever happened to me because it made me the person that I am today. My first job when I graduated out of U of I, 97, before that shit happened, I worked at downtown Chicago for a copy machine. They were selling copiers. And I'm like, this is what I graduated college for, to sell copiers?
Right.
Right? That's when I was like, so I always knew that I wasn't a cubicle guy, because I sat in a cubicle for 2 weeks. And I was like, there's no way I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why I say I wouldn't change it, even though maybe I'll be more successful. Maybe I would have more money. Maybe.
Well, but what is success?
I mean,
is success money? I mean, is that what it is?
I mean,
to you,
right now in my position in life, the only thing that could make me more successful would be more money. Now, because of everything I have, I have a great family. I have my wife's awesome. My kids are awesome. Right? Maybe I wouldn't have had that, or maybe I wouldn't even. Maybe I would think differently. You know what I mean? So at this point right now in my life, yes, the only thing that could be more successful was money. But rewind to years back, and maybe I had all the money in the world. Maybe I wouldn't have the family that I have. Maybe I wouldn't have the kids that I love. Like, I just left golfing with my son today. It was great, So even though it wasn't a perfect path, I feel like I've persevered to get where I am, to rub shoulders, to be with the people that I'm around, with the people that are part of the network, just everything that I don't know that I deserve to be in this position, or that I would be in this position if things worked out differently. So therefore, I would never change. I wouldn't change so I finally got my gun rights back.
Okay.
2 years ago. I had to spend $3,500. I had to get a lawyer in Chicago. They wanted me to move. So there's so many rules, right? So when you get the felony, you lose your gun rights. So I couldn't carry a gun forever.
Yeah.
And I didn't, because I knew if I got caught with a gun, I'd go to jail. So I never had a gun. Then 2 years ago, finally contacted a lawyer out here. They said, you got to contact a lawyer in Illinois because that's where the felony was at. Finally did. Boom. $3,500. Paid it. Got my gun rights back. Now I get to, little things like that have kind of always haunted me. It's like voting. I was scared to vote because it was like, am I able to vote? Am I breaking a law by voting?
Right.
And then the last couple elections I looked everything up. It was like, okay, you're good to vote because it didn't stop your voting rights, whatever. So I did that, but I went from being like literally a top 10% Catholic school, perfect kid, to a few years later, a felon. You know what I mean?
Crashing the bus.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, and you've mentioned that you've coached baseball for a while. You played baseball. Obviously, you stopped to go into bowling. You have your podcast, which is surrounded up around baseball. So I'm catching this theme that you really, really like baseball. Do you wish you would have continued playing baseball? Or was that opportunity even there? Because, I mean, obviously...
the opportunity was there.
Yeah.
It was there. I was good at baseball. I played freshman year in Chicago. I played sophomore year in Chicago. Moved to California. They let me... I talked to the coach right after I'd moved there in California and said, can I just be around the team? Can I be part of the team? Can I hang out? I get it if I'm not playing or whatever.
Yeah.
And he let me. And then I was just, I was 16 years old at the time, had just moved with my dad in California. And I think probably for my whole life, I had probably been thirsting for my dad to care.
I mean,
even care.
Yeah.
I was going to say, teach me stuff.
Yeah.
But even care.
Yeah.
Bro, I remember. So I'm bowling University of Illinois in Las Vegas. So we would go to, in college bowling, there's tournaments every month. So all the teams, all the schools from the country come to the tournaments. So like in school starts August, so like September, October, whatever, the first tournament's in Atlanta, right? So schools from all around the country come to Atlanta, right? And then Thanksgiving is always St. Louis. So you have a big tournament in St. Louis for Thanksgiving night. Like in the first 3 years of college, I didn't even go home for Thanksgiving because I was in St. Louis bowling, right? And then over Christmas break, it was Vegas. So you bowled at Showboat and you bowled at Sam's Town, 2 different tournaments. And I remember right now, bowling, we're at Showboat, Sam's Town, and it's the tournament. And I'm front 6, right? Means I got the first 6, first 6 strikes. And my dad had lived in California at this time, right? I'd already been moved out there, he had gone back, right? And now I was back, bowling, but was in the West Coast, and he was like, I'm gonna come watch you. He had come earlier, said what's up to me or whatever, and then he's like, I'm gonna go gamble, do Vegas shit, right? Well, I'm front 6, and after every strike, I'm looking back, like to see where is he?
Hoping he's there.
Where is he? Where is he?
Yeah.
Where is he? Like, he's not coming down? And I still remember literally crying at the bowling alley when he finally did walk down, and it was like the 10th frame, and I shot 279 that game.
Yeah.
I remember to this day, 279, and was like, it never even came down to like, meanwhile, my mom would be she would fly out to every tournament, everything, and be there.
Yeah.
So it was just like, as I got older, you just looked, like you said, just looked for the guy to care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I wanted to see you.
At least acknowledge that I'm alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you experienced that. I mean, that.
But again,
okay, so how?
I wouldn't change it because that made me the father that I am today.
And that was the question I was going to ask: is how has that impacted the way that you are with your kids? You have 2 boys.
I have a boy and a girl.
Boy and a girl. Okay.
Twins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're 20. They just turned 20.
How are you? How has that impacted the way you are with them and your relationship with their mother, your wife?
My dad.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, you're right. My dad went to Vietnam. He got shot in Vietnam. All right. My mom said when he left to go to Vietnam, he was the greatest guy ever. But once he got shot in Vietnam, stomach, you can see you got a whole line in his stomach, like where he had the surgery and everything. Like he laid in a bed for 3 months, staring at the ceiling in Vietnam. He'll tell you the story, and came back and didn't give up about anything. And I can't blame him for that.
Right.
I don't, you don't know until you walked in a man's shoes, right?
Right.
So can I blame him for forgetting about everything that he had when he went there and came back and almost died, saw his best friend get blown up next to him in the fields? Like I've known this, like but that was his story.
Right. And I feel like, and I don't want to discount that. I don't want to discount what people deal with and what they go through, right?
Right.
But at some point, and it this is going to sound very trite because I've had people in my life who have said, "You don't like that? Change your mind. You don't like having that anxiety attack. Decide not to have it." It's like you can't do that.
It was almost like that in an indirect way,
right? But you were born after Vietnam was over.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So he had come back from Vietnam.
Yeah.
Decided to have a relationship.
he came back from there, and my mom and him were together when he left. When he came back, they were still together, but then he chose to go off and have. Now, my mom married him, and all, right? But he chose to have girlfriends and do all this other kind of stuff.
This podcast is powered by Above Par Network, where networking isn't about awkward mixers or endless pitches. It's about genuine relationships, real opportunities, and having a good time doing it. If you're ready for networking that actually works, visit AboveParNetwork.com.
This episode is powered by 5 Leaf Financial, expert accountants, tax preparers, and CFOs who help you make smarter financial choices. If you want peace of mind around your finances, visit 5leaf.net.
But I know that work can do up, and I'm not
Sure,
trying to take that away.
100%,
Not trying to take that away from anybody.
100%. I would never take that away from
Never experienced it,
Right.
never done it, but
Right.
I know.
Sure,
right.
100%.
That being said, I feel like at some point, and the way that you said he had to deal with that is that you're providing a continued excuse for his lack of stepping up and taking care of a responsibility that he has. Now, again,
Sure. No,
the mental aspect of it, I can't even complain.
No, nobody can.
Right? But I just feel like and I hate the word unfair. I hate that. Nothing's fair. It's fair. Right. Fair is what you make it.
Yeah,
it's unfair.
right.
Change
Life
it.
ain't
Go.
fair,
Go.
baby.
Right.
Life
You know,
ain't
it's
fair.
like just.
Life ain't fair.
But as a kid, wanting your parents to, or your dad to acknowledge you, see you, care, whatever. And I'm going all psychobabble, but just I'm sorry that you had to experience that because you're a great guy.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How can I be sorry
Yeah.
when look where I'm at, bro?
Yeah.
Why would I ever?
Well, at some point, you had the opportunity. I mean, perfect example. You got pulled over with 1.5 pounds of pot, right? That could have been, you get into the system, you could have used, I mean, I don't have to say the obvious, you're a Hispanic male, right?
Yeah,
you could
for
have
sure.
used
For sure.
that. Now here's your crutch,
Right.
And you allow yourself. So at some point mentally, you were able to go, okay, I'm better than this.
You know what's almost crazy is I almost think that's the best thing that ever happened to me.
That's incredible. That's
Because
impressive.
that made me be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because nobody would hire me.
So
I couldn't get a job because I had a felony, bro.
yeah.
I couldn't get a job.
Yeah.
So then I get fucked. And that's why, bro, I get the felony. I get kicked out of school. I get 2 years of probation. Went from thinking I'm going to go make $300,000 a year to now I can't get a job. So I go back home. I'm back in home, Stager, Illinois, 4,000 or 5,000 people. I'm sitting with a buddy of mine who had a gutter company. And I said, Kenny, we're sitting at a bar just drinking. I go, bro, I got a felony, bro. I can't get a job. He goes, you want to come hang gutters for me and hang siding? I said, bro, I don't even know how to swing a hammer. He goes, I don't care. Come work for me. I have no other choice.
Yeah.
I went from going to be being a CEO
Yeah.
to now I'm hanging gutters, bro. And my wife at that time was when I met her. And I had no money to my name, nothing. And we fell in love with each other. And I'll tell you a story. It's on the list right here. So Kenny gives me the job. I go hang gutters, teaches me how to I'll go inside a house right now because Kenny Irwin taught me how to do it. And I will thank him. I thank him randomly on like Facebook, like, thank you, man, for making me the man. Because I wasn't a man then. I was a guy that just thought that I'm making life happen. I'm in grad school. I'm a good student. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this kid, after high school, started a gutter company, and 12 years later, he's a millionaire.
Yeah.
And I'm still paying bills.
Right.
But he gave me the opportunity, just like my wife. When we first met, we're married 20 years now.
Congratulations.
Right? And had nothing when we met. Nothing. She bought me, you remember those T-Mobile, the sidekicks? That,
Yeah.
She bought me my first sidekick together. She's like, I'll buy it for $350. She bought it, right? Had nothing.
Wow.
And I mean, unbelievable. Just to experience.
So talk to me about the entrepreneurial aspect of things. You started a company, or was it the exciting company? What?
Let me finish the one story.
Okay, yeah.
So my wife and I, we go to one of her friends had a birthday party or something. We weren't married yet, but we were together or whatever. We may have been married. We go to Kohl's for the first time, and both of our credit scores were probably negative 500. We go to Kohl's and we apply for a credit because we had to go to this party that night and we had no money, and I just needed a belt and a shirt. So we're just like, apply for credit. Like, okay. They gave us $300 in credit, and me and her just looked at each other and literally in the Kohl's line and just started dying and laughing. It said, they just gave us $500 in credit to buy whatever we want. Yeah. So that takes you back to how long my wife has been my dog.
Yeah.
My right-hand man.
Yeah.
Like if it wasn't for her, I'd be dead or in jail or both. And I will say that to this day, right? So now ask me that question.
What did I ask you? Oh, starting a company. Talk to me about that.
So we did the golf away thing, right? Tried with my mom, my brother, and I knew that I am not working for anybody, man. Mm-hmm. I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. You know what I mean? Fuck you, dude. Do what I want. Mm-hmm. And so.
Do you find when somebody tells you to do something that you just go put the brakes on, walk the other way?
Nobody tells me what to do. So no.
So you don't know.
Nobody tells me anymore. I mean, yeah, and I probably, if they do, my wife's probably the only one, and I do whatever, But so moved to California. Mm-hmm. So I'll tell this story too. This is a good one. You want to clip this? So I wasn't done with my probation yet from the felony. 2005. Move out to California to go live with my dad and my uncle. So here, the entrepreneurial spirit comes from the time when I was a kid. I would always go visit my dad. Like I said, we went 3 times a year: Christmas, spring break, summer. Myself and my brother with my dad, spent time with my dad and my uncle out there. They owned their own companies. They ran the companies. So they take us Cedars-Sinai hospitals. They went from doing homes to commercial. So like my dad, he'd pick us up at the airport. Next thing you know, we're in LA. We're just everywhere because he's going. I'll be back. Wait 20 minutes. Going into a meeting. Come back out. Right. So I always saw these guys doing this sort of work. So I always I think it's just in my blood. Mm-hmm. Right. Of what, So when school, whatever the whole school thing ended up not happening. Whatever. I got in trouble. Went out to California and was like, all right. I need to figure, let's do something. I'm not going to work for anybody. I'm not going to, I can't work for anybody. And, and it's always been ingrained in me. And it's just like, I can't be here being told what to do, So it became, so then when we were living in California, my twins were born. They were a year and a half, maybe. So this is 2007. My wife's best friend's fiance died on the night, 24 years old, died on the night of their wedding shower.
No.
My wife says, we have to move back to Chicago. Everybody we love is there. And I said, let's go back. So we moved back, and we went back to Chicago, and my one old college roommate said, I have a job for you at my company. And I was like, all right, I'll come check it out.
Big thanks to Maritime USA for sponsoring the show, helping businesses simplify payment processing and reduce unnecessary fees. If you're tired of overpaying to accept cards, it might be time for a better option. Learn more at maritimeusa.com.
This episode is supported by Rocks Ink Calligraphy, where every piece is created by hand and designed to be remembered. From custom calligraphy and engraving to live event personalization, Rocks Ink turns meaningful moments into lasting art. Learn more at rocksink.com.
Go back to Chicago. He says, forget about my company. My buddy just started his own company, a logistics company. and I think you would be perfect for this. And I said, all right, I have 2 1.5-year-olds. I need a job.
Yeah,
I don't know.
right.
I'll do whatever you tell me.
Yeah.
So we moved back to Illinois, lived in Beecher, Illinois, which is 40-something miles south of Chicago cornfields. So my brother-in-law still lives. I go back there every year for Thanksgiving. That's where we moved here from. Town of 4,000 people, a little bit south of where I grew up.
Okay.
10 minutes south of where I grew up. So I had to drive 60 miles every day to go work in Schaumburg, Illinois, where my buddy's buddy had just started his brokering company, a third-party logistics company.
Okay.
Knew nothing about it. I just knew that I had 2 kids to raise,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get a job anywhere else. You know, even though this was 7 years later, they're still not hiring anybody who has a felony.
Right.
It wasn't happening, you know. So, and I'm meeting Kyle. First day I drove there I'm leaving Beecher, Illinois, to drive to Schaumburg, Illinois. It's not probably, it's 66 miles. I know because I've looked it up many times. It's 66 miles. I'm on 294. I hit a bank. I get a flat tire. My first day going to the guy's house.
Oh.
He worked out of his basement. Ended up, whatever, get there late, whatever. But it turns into work for the guy for 3-4 years. And then he ran the company kind of shitty. It was just bad. He ran it bad credit, whatever. And I had a good book of business. And I said, and I ended up finding a company that would let me take my book of business to go work for them from home. So I've been working from home since probably 2011, maybe.
Okay.
Way before working from home was popular. And I left him, and he was a good friend of my friends, but it got to be bad where, like, we couldn't move loads because our credit was so bad because he just ran it poorly and wasn't paying truckers on time, whatever. So I ended up working from home, grew my own book of business, and then and then that's when, fast forward to, you know, a couple years ago, where I ended up selling that same book of business for $1.4 million.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
and that's what I say. How can I change anything?
Yeah.
You know, maybe I would have been in a position where I sold a business for $5 million,
Right.
but I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know.
What-
You know,
So, what made you decide at that point to sell the book?
so so in trucking, there's a lot of fraudulent activity that goes on, and for the first 10 years of my logistics career, that wasn't a thing. You could book a load. You get a load from your customer wants a load covered. You put it out. We got a couple different sites. They're called boards, right? You put it on a board where full truckload board. So a 53-foot dry van, which is a semi, is going to see that. They're going to call you or email you, bid on it, whatever. Or there's a sprinter van, you know, smaller loads, 1 pallet, 2 pallets that, you know, you're going to move, and they're going to see that, right? So it just became. Just ask me.
Why did you decide to sell?
Oh,
at that
all right, yeah. So the fraudulent was the thing. So we used to have these boards where you put it on for the 53-footers, and those boards became fraudulent, kind of. So then, luckily, I steered away from that and had a lot of customers that moved sprinter vans, straight trucks, which are just smaller loads, right? 1 or 2 pallets or 12 pallets could move on a 24-footer or whatever, right? And those weren't as susceptible to fraud as the other loads were. But as time went on, all of it just
when you say fraud, what's happening?
Bro. Like, I've had the FBI at my house because there's these.
Somebody bids on a.
Dude, they do everything. So there's like.
Steal the
I don't
cargo?
know, steal the cargo. Or, so, like, whatever. Like, so, like, big thing was like the Russian mob, right? Or the Armenians. The Armenian mob was like big out of Glendale, California. And like, if you saw, so when you post our loads, if you would see an 818 area code calling you, it got to the point where you couldn't even answer the call because you were worried that they were frauds. So they would say, oh, whatever, we're going to get the load. And then they pick up the load. And then next thing you know, your load is. So the biggest thing one time that happened is I had a huge customer, Pacific Logistics, and I was doing a shit ton of loads for them. making a bunch of money. This guy, Coleman Logistics, I still remember to this day. They called, they were $200 cheaper than the other truckers. Coleman Logistics, oh, I'll give you the load. They stole. Nowadays, you email or everything's automated, you're right, where you send over your paperwork, your insurance, your everything, your VIN numbers that are part of but back then it used to be faxing. You used to fax everything over. Fax me your packet, right? So they'd fax their packet, right? You get all and it was very minimal at that time, just showed they had insurance or whatever. So there's this company, Coleman Logistics. They're like, they were $200 cheaper for a load from California to like Tennessee or something. Give them the load. Mm-hmm. Monday morning, they called, they say, we're not going to deliver your load unless you pay us up front. And now you're like, fuck, dude. And this has gone on in trucking for, this is 15 years ago probably.
Yeah.
And it's now just starting to come to the light of like, this happens in trucking. Like, so that's what led me to, now that was way back then. Fast forward to now, I had built my book of business, had a good book of business, and had just gotten sick of it. And one night I'm Friday, I remember it like Friday, 3 p.m. I'm laying down and taking a nap. And one of my customers sees 18 other brokers when he's asking for a quote. So you could see that he's emailing all these people, not just you for a quote. But I was still his preferred guy, but he still sent out to other guys if I couldn't cover it. So one of the guys that's part of that CC on the side CCs me and says, would you like to come work for me? And I said, no, but I will sell you my book of business. And he calls me 5 minutes later.
Really?
And we talked for 2 hours that Friday. Never knew him from nothing. And that was the start of me telling him, like, yeah, I don't want to I don't want to do this anymore. I've been doing this 20 years of dealing with bullshit. The first 10 years were great because you can make a ton of money.
Yeah.
But trucking is the most unregulated market. You know, housing, you got to have, if you're a realtor, you got to have a license. If you're a bartender serving drinks, you got to have a license, right? But if you're moving truckloads, you don't got to have shit. You can do, you don't have to have anything.
I've run into, I had a logistics company, and some of the stuff that I've found over time is, and I've run into some of those things you're talking about, but what I've seen is the DOT only requires $100,000 in cargo coverage, right?
Yeah.
But you got a $500,000 load.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's all.
Like,
yeah.
just these
that's all
things.
Everybody's everybody's 100,000 minimum.
Right.
If a load's worth more, then you got to take out insurance and those kind of things. But that's just what it came down to. It was like at that point, I'm like, dude, I'm 52 now. This is probably 5 years ago, right? I'm 47. I'm like, I told my wife, I was like, I've been doing this 20 years. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to deal with, because it used to be I could spend my whole day making money. It became where I had to spend half of my day making sure the guys that I were giving my loads to weren't fraudsters. And it was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And just out of the blue, this guy happened to call me Maverick. I love him. He's one of my great friends now. And he asked me, do I want to come work for him? I said, no, but I'll sell you my book. And we negotiated for a few months, and he offered me 1.4, and I was like, yeah, dude, yeah, let's do it.
So, okay, so from there, checking the time.
We good or what?
Yeah, we're good. So from there, you sell the business. What'd you do? I mean, your kids now are 20. So you sold the business, what, 5 years ago?
Yeah, I would say, 5 years ago.
So they're like in their 15s-ish.
So I had to do a year of training his ops people.
Okay.
To learn how to do my business, to how to handle the business and all that, which I did. And then after that, I didn't take the 1.4 up front. He still owes me, I don't want to say it, but he still owes me about $700,000.
Okay.
I took part of it up front, enough to, at least be clear and whatever. And then I just thought I was going to go do a bunch of shit. We tried the scat. I tried that scat documentary. Everything was looking good for a while. It didn't happen. But I was just like, I'm just going to I'm going to try to just
do nothing
and see what happens,
Yeah.
And then that's when, probably a year into it, right? So 2003 is when my buddy called me out of the blue, who was my buddy who I've not hadn't talked to in 2 years, calls me out of the blue and says, E, I need you to meet me. Listen to what he tells me. Haven't talked to him in 2 years. Calls me and says, I need you to meet me in Vegas next week. We just started this AI company, and I think you would love it.
This is 2023.
2023, July of 2023.
Okay.
And I said, I'll be there. And I drove up to Vegas, and I was already had been negotiating. Like, the deal was done already for the logistics. He was buying me out. I already knew that. And I go up there, and I see what the guy. So my buddy is Dave, who from Chicago had me come out there to meet his buddy Adam, who Adam used to be a caddy at Cascada in Vegas, like a big, right, a nice course in Vegas. And but he had a lot of connections for that. But Adam's a whiz, and Adam's the one who's the CEO, the mastermind behind the AI agency. So he created this thing, and Dave's like, "Come see it." I drove up there, I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm in." I said, "I know I'm out of logistics in at least 6 months. I need something new to be involved in, and obviously AI is the next thing."
Yeah.
And then took me literally 10 seconds of seeing what he took so he goes, "What's your company?" I said, "It's Mav Inc." Looks it up. Well, it wasn't Mav Inc. yet. It was, at that time, I was still WFX Logistics. So he looks it up, pops it on the thing, spits it out, and goes, "This is everything you do, right?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I could automate all this." I'm like, "What?" And I said, "I'm in, dude. Not for logistics, but I'm in for whatever else that we can do the rest of the way."
Oh, shit.
You know? And that's how I got, that's how the AI shit, started.
Okay, so let's shelf that for a second. Spin it back. Talk to me about how your vision of leadership has changed from when you had your kids, 1.5 years old, trying to find any job you can get, go to work for somebody, take on the logistics, rolling through. I assume you've been coaching their sports for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, like, that has never changed, man. I know I've always been a killer, bro. I knew from day one that I'm meant for something more than just a regular, like, 9 to 5 type.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I can't say it really changed, like, my mentality. It's just the surroundings changed. The opportunities changed. Because probably maybe from seeing my dad from the time that I was young of doing what he did. Like I said, 7 years old, he'd pick me up at the airport and we'd go to a meeting and I'd be waiting in the car for him, and that was it. Like, we had 2 meetings, done. And I just saw him spending a bunch of money, and I just knew, like, and then I would see my mom, who was a secretary, who went to go work, and I'm like, do I want to be like my mom or do I want to be like my dad? So I was just, nothing changed inside of me per se. It just changed it to what was available to me.
How do you deal with the peaks and valleys?
Man, bro, I fight battles every day, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do or if everybody does or anybody's listening. I fight battles every
Yesterday,
day.
I will tell you, yesterday was Wednesday, right? Yeah, yesterday, which who knows when this podcast will be, whatever. I was in the mud, man. I was in the mud. I couldn't get my brain out of the funk.
I was at the funk, man, 8 a.m. this morning because I made so now I'm doing trading. I'm trying to do trading. Took a class. I'm doing trading. And so I went to the gym this morning at 5 a.m. I'm home at 6:30. I made a options trade where I made a little bit of money on, like $100, like nothing, like small money, right? And then I go to do another trade because I'm doing other trades on like this other funded trading thing I'm trying to do or whatever. I got a million things going right for me, and I made one bad trade.
And just kills
all morning. That's all I'm thinking about, bro.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. And I'm like, why am I focused on this one bad thing?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I have so many great things. So I just saw like Warren Buffett just talking about a thing where he does is he still alive? I don't know. But he does.
I think he is.
He does this thing where if something goes bad, he does like a thing where he says, name 3 good things about what just went bad. So like, it's like, all right, well, I ran out of gas, but I have a car.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like whatever. Like he names the good things that happen. So I literally just read that yesterday and was like, I need to think more that way.
Yeah.
Instead of me beating myself up about all the bad things that are happening are the one bad thing that's happening. Because I made one trade that I lost an account on. There was only $20 to buy the account instead of focusing on the million of great things.
Well, and do you ever stop? Because I've done this, and I don't know if you know my story, but just going back. But do you ever stop and go, I can't believe that this is my life, in a good way? Do you ever stop and go, I could have shit the bed really big, but I didn't. I mean, you think about the fact, and let's say $20. If it was $20, whatever. I mean, it's like money these days, and I am not by any stretch of the imagination into money, rich,
no,
not right.
Right. No.
Money is still very, very important, and every dollar counts.
Right.
However, when you start looking at things and putting things into perspective, like somebody's like, hey, it's going to cost you $150 a year to be involved in this program. Okay, well, that's dinner.
Right.
That's dinner at a shitty restaurant.
Right.
You know, do you ever step back and look at your life today and go, yeah, I'm successful. Do you feel like you're successful?
Yes, I feel like I've been more successful. I'm sure everybody feels that way, you know. But like I said, to look at, I mean, I was raised basically by my mom only. Yeah, my brother too, but he left, you know, he was older, so he had his own thing. It could be a lot worse. You know?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I look at it like, yeah, dude. That's why I say I could never say I would change anything, man, no matter how bad things ever got in my life, to be sitting where I'm sitting at today.
Yeah.
I'm ecstatic.
Yeah.
About that. I live in Gilbert, Arizona, one of the best places in the world. In the world, is that not wrong?
Yeah,
in
no,
the
I think
world
you're right, yeah.
to live.
Mm-hmm.
I have some of the best, the people that I surround myself with are some of the most successful people out there, you know. And so I feel like I kind of judge it about, like, you know, what are my outreaches? What are my extensions of myself? I can make a call, you know, just anything. I'm going to New York next month with Clay Bellinger to go watch Cody Bellinger play at the Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm here. One of my best friends is Junior Spivey, who played for the D-backs. And like, I couldn't, like, could I sit here and think about, like, what more could be? Mm-hmm. Of course, you would always do that, right? But I don't ever, from where I was at one point to where I am now, I could be in jail. I could easily be in jail for the rest of my life.
Oh, absolutely.
Where I was.
That,
you know what I mean?
that we'll say 14-year-old kid, because I think you said you moved to California when you were 15 or so.
Yeah, right.
So 14-year-old kid living in a town of 4,000 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were doing well. Top of your class or close to the top of your class. You were in sports, athlete, you know, all those things, right? You look back on some of those kids that you went to school with in that 4,000-person town that are probably still there.
A lot of them are still there.
And I'm not looking down on them because I grew up in the same place. I mean, I grew up in I think my dad used to say, oh, there's 6,000 people. It's like, you take the whole county, there might be 6,000 people, right?
Where'd you grow up?
Northeastern Washington.
Okay.
And it was a very small town. It was a county seat, so all the services are there, but it was still, I think, maybe 5,000 people in my hometown.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
And I'm not disparaging any of those people that are still in town, because I actually look at some of those people and I look at the way that at what I will say their life is, and I feel like the rat race that we run here versus what they're doing there, I almost sometimes vicariously
envy them.
Yeah, like, God, it would be nice.
Right.
Because when I go back home to my hometown, it is a slow pace that I literally feel like I'm coming off a crack
100%.
the first 2 days
100%.
going,
right.
You know, and you go into the store and Mabel's talking to Betty and they're like, it's like, okay, can we get through this already? Because I want to get off. You know, it's like,
but that's not us.
No, I mean,
not us.
I'm the
like
freaking,
whether you're there from there or not.
Yeah,
you're different inside. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I left that town when I was 18. I mean, I still worked there and came back there a few times and stuff, but mentally I had left that town. Even before I graduated high school, I'd left that town. But it's interesting because I think about some of the things that you'd shared with us today where it's like you could have easily, whether it was made decisions or become a victim of your circumstance,
Right.
you could have easily coasted into a position that is very different than where you are today. And you've brought up a couple times, and I'm sorry I cut you off, you brought up a couple times that you didn't finish your master's degree.
Yeah.
I would almost argue in some situations, education is really about forcing us to follow rules, right? And not that I have a thing against education. My dad was a teacher for 45 years. I went to college, whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is this conformity forced upon you in education that says you're going to learn this, you're going to spit these things out, you're going to sit up and sit down and shut up, and all these things. When I tell you to do it,
Right.
I want you to learn how to follow rules.
Right.
And you, yes, you went through that, but you haven't needed it to be successful.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe it was a hindrance. I don't know. I just thought I was just going through my mom. Like, my mom's parents were from Mexico.
Yeah.
So my mom was a single mom, and I think she was just teaching me what she thought was what American kids were supposed to do.
She taught you hard work.
Yeah.
She taught you to show
She
up.
did it. Yeah.
She taught you to be responsible for your actions.
Right.
Which we should be teaching all of our kids those things.
Sure.
And unfortunately, in our amazing town of Gilbert,
Yeah.
a lot of those kids aren't taught responsibility for their actions.
They're not. And I almost felt guilty to that. I almost fall guilty to that because I didn't do shit until I was 25, maybe, because my mom took care of me. I didn't have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I went to college. I graduated from school, and I went and did a little bit of work, whatever, but not busting my ass like I should have been.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But I think my mom was happy with the fact that I graduated college and I was making a little bit of money or whatever. So it was cool. So it was like almost like I kind of am like that now with my wife. I have a stepson, Daniel, one of my best friends in the world. He's 25 years old. My wife had him when she was 17 years old. And so she approached it different because she started working right after she had him.
Yeah.
Even though her parents helped her and everything like that, she went to work right away. She went to college. She was doing part-time college, but part-time working and all that, right? Me, I didn't. My mom let me coast till I was 25, 26 years old or whatever. Finally, when I was 30, I kind of got down to business. And then when I had them at 33, I got real serious.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of at a fault like that with them. I'm like I told my son, he plays baseball at Mesa Community. Well, he's going to transfer now, but I told him, you play sports, bro, I got you. Like, you don't have to work. I'm going to take care of you.
Yeah.
Whatever, And so kind of to like a fault, I'm more like...
But it's not like you're allowing him to just sit at home.
No, not do nothing.
My dad did the same thing with me. I mean, I can remember in high school, my dad saying, you're going to play a sport, whatever season it is,
right,
or you're going to get a job.
Right, 100%.
That was the choice.
That's it.
And so I'm like, well, I'm going to play sports.
Right.
Because I'm not going to work.
Right.
It's like, and so I played sports every season.
100%.
Even in the summer, I was playing sports.
Right.
Now, in the summer, there were times where I was working on, working farm and baling hay and stuff like that. But I mean, that was the choice. So I actually agree with you when you say for your son, hey, if you're playing baseball, focus on the baseball.
I got you.
Be as good as you can be. Because there's going to be a day he might be playing men's league or doing something like that somewhere, but he's not going to have the opportunity to possibly take it to the next level.
It's over.
Right.
But I gave the same opportunity to my daughter and to my son.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you are playing sports, I got you.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how it was presented to me. And beyond that, my mom want to get away with a lot more than I will allow them to get away with,
Yeah.
But it set that kind of tone for me. So my wife is always like, you guys got to do like. So my daughter, she works in the hospital in Scottsdale. She's doing phlebotomy. She's doing great. But if it was up to me, I wouldn't push her as much as my wife tells her, like, you got to get a job. You got to get, we want you to get out of the house and all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give. My kids can live with me till I'm 100. I don't give a shit, dude. But it's I don't know. Family's it for me. Yeah. So
talk to me about the AI agency.
So the AI agency, like I said, my buddy Dave called me up and said, you gotta come here and see what Adam has cooked up. And I was like, I'll be there. Drove there next day. And at the time that it was it presented to me, 2023, we thought it was going to be a one-stop shop, fix all for businesses. You bring your business to me, we're going to put it in the AI, and we're going to spin the wheel, and then we're going to tell you how AI is going to solve your business. You're going to pay us $20,000, and we're going to make you a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't work because it was like, how do you monetize what you're really developing for a customer? Maybe you spend a lot of work, you develop something, it's not what they thought, and then, they paid you, and you didn't make, whatever. So it's slowly over time had become where the easiest thing that we could focus on to monetize was the voice systems.
Okay.
Because you can monetize your minute usage. You create the first product, the first answering system or whatever. Because our main thing is answering phones, right?
Does it do outbound work as well?
You do outbound as well, yes. The main thing is inbound. Outbound, you can't spam call in the United States with AI unless you're doing politics because they have a loophole. But you can't. So it's mostly inbound, right?
Okay.
So that's your main thing. So it was presenting it to the customers of, it's gonna alleviate, the stress of answering phones and that kind of stuff. So it became where Adam, who was our CEO, that became like his niche of being able to present that to people and get, as opposed to saying, hey, we can do everything for you with AI. Let us just answer your calls. Let us do your scheduling. Let us do that kind of stuff. So it kind of slowly transformed into that, and that's became like what we're good at doing, and what Adam's good at doing. And like for me, of course I do ChatGPT and I mess with stuff all the time. But like I say, I don't know how to build a watch. I can tell you what time it is, but Adam can build a watch, and he's our CEO, and he could, use AI to do pretty much anything. But it's still so new, and there's still people who think they can do it on their own. And then for the people who can't, I don't think they realize how much we can do for them, And like for me at this point, like with the APN, like I did a presentation of the AI agency and all that kind of stuff. Dude, I busted my ass for 20 years doing logistics.
Yeah.
And I'm at the point of like, bro, if you don't want AI, bro, then don't get it. I don't give a dude.
Yeah.
I really don't. Like, I don't. I'm like, I would love for you to take our services and have us answer your calls and do all kind of shit. But I'm not going to try to sell you on this shit.
Yeah.
And that's just where I'm at in my life, of not monetarily, because I am by no means, even though I sold the business for $1.4 million, I'm living paycheck to paycheck right now because I make money on the dividends of my book of business, what they make weekly, right? So I'm not making, and that's going to run out in probably 2.5 years. Because like I said, Adam paid me $500,000 up front and owed me $700,000, and he's paying me off little chunks weekly. And that's great, because if I would have had $1.4 million up front,
blown it all,
I'd probably have 1.0 right now, 0.0 right now, right? So I'm all good with that.
Yeah.
So like with the whole AI thing, like I present it to people, and if you can't find the value in it yourself, then quite honestly, bro, I'm 52 years old. I don't feel like I want to beat a dead horse anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I got
That's
you.
just how I feel about it.
Yeah.
That's, early on with APN and everything, I was like, oh, this is great. Like, there's a lot of entrepreneurs in here, and but I don't know. I don't know if it's maybe we need to look for bigger fish, because I get it. Because you got smaller companies and like, oh, I'm nervous about the AI answering my calls and doing, and I get all that, but I'm not in the position now where I feel like I want to try to convince somebody otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, to me, it was like a fun thing. It's going great. Like, we're making, I won't say we're making money, but we're alive and we're working, and Adam's doing his thing. And we got, a couple of developers working with us and stuff that are doing their thing, and I just invested a little bit of money in it. I didn't, and it's like, I'll do sales in it and stuff. So ultimately, if it doesn't work out, it's not the worst thing in the world, but if it does work out,
great.
and we sell it one day for, $1 billion, a few million, then it's going to be great.
Right.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
But, ultimately, bro, I have way more fun doing the podcast that I do on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at in my life now, is like, how much time do we have left? 30 years. I mean, if I die when I'm 82,
right,
I have 30 years. I'm 52 now. So I've already, I can live the last 30 years of my life having fun and doing what I want and maybe make some money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's my goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it, really,
Tell me about your podcast.
So the podcast is The Pen.
PEN.
The Pen.
Like the bullpen.
Like the bullpen.
Not
exactly.
the big pen.
100% like the pen. So it's myself and my buddy Brian McNichol, who is the first person that I met when I moved here from Chicago in 2015.
Okay.
I met him at Meet the Teacher Night. My twins and his son had the same teacher. His son has since passed away in a car accident. Brian was driving. They were probably 13 at this time. So we moved here in 15. They were 9 and they were 6. Yeah, 2006. So they were 9. 2013, Brian was driving. They had a car accident. His son had passed away in the car accident, 13 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And for a long time, Brian went south and can't blame him for any of that. And finally he has become sober and came clean. And we've always had this dream of doing a podcast and talked about it, whatever. And a few weeks ago, I mean, literally 2 months ago, he calls me up one day and he's like, did you see this YouTube video of Chris Bryant at this guy broke down his last half of his career or something? So I'm like, no, let me go look at it. So I watched the YouTube video and I'm like, B, we can make a way better video and shit than this. And I'm like, how many guys do you know that you played with? He's like, so Brian played for the Cubs, 2 starts, 6 bullpen appearances back in 1999. I actually went through I've always kept a bag of my stubs from all the games that I went to.
No kidding.
Brian's debut was September 7th, 1999. And I found a stub that I was at the Cubs game September 5th, 2 days before his debut. So, so we started it, and he started contacting all these guys that he played with back in the late 90s, and so we do Sunday nights live while the Sunday night there's only one Sunday night baseball game, right? It's kind of like the Mannings do it with the Sunday night football.
Yeah.
So it's one Sunday night baseball game on Peacock, 4:20 every Sunday, and we just go live on YouTube, and first 3 innings, we talk about the game, and then we bring the guest on in the next 4 to 6. We've been breaking our rules and keeping them to the end because we just have a great time talking. And we've had great guests like Kyle Farnsworth, who was a 14-year MLB player, pitching the All-Star game. We had last week Jason Grilli, who was a 15-year Major League All-Star, pitching an All-Star game. 2 weeks ago, we had Brendan Donnelly came to my house, and we did it in studio, but it's in my living room.
Yeah. It's in studio.
And shout out to my wife for letting all this happen. A Sunday night, we're gonna do a episode. We're gonna do a video Sunday night, Mother's Day. And Bruce Chen, former left-hander, pitched for the Brewers and for the Braves. He's going to be our guest. So it's just a bunch of guys that Brian played with back in the day that a lot of these guys were way more successful than Brian because he only had, 30 days in the major leagues. Mm-hmm. But these are all these guys that he played AAA with or whatever. And these guys have been more than gracious to come on the show. And so we'll do 3 innings. We talk, then we bring them on, and then we just shoot the shit with major leaguer, former major leaguer, and ask them about, like I said, like one of the really good things that I love in the show is to ask the guys about when they were called up. What was it when you got called up? Mm-hmm. And all these guys, they'll tell a story, and they're like, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about this story about when, and it's all different. Some guys were sleeping in their bed at 1 a.m. and they got a knock on the door and said, you're going to the bigs tomorrow. There's another guy, like Brian, he gave up 6 runs. He got called up to the bigs, and they're like, but you still have to start this game at AAA, and he gave up 6 runs in the first inning, and the guy comes out to get the ball for him and says, well, congratulations, you're still going to the bigs, So it's just like, they hear these stories from all these guys, and it's so cool because for me, being from Chicago, and sports is a huge thing, and then first of all, to move here and to be lucky enough to be introduced to and meet so many former athletes. Like, bro, if Brian Urlacher walked in here right now and saw me, he'd be like, oh my God, what's up? Like, that's crazy to me to think, like, I cheered for this dude for years, but because my son and daughter are friends with his son, I've seen him at Seville here. Like, it's so cool to, like, be in the position that I am with around these former athletes and that kind of stuff. So, like, to me, it's a dream come true to be doing this every Sunday, talking to former major leaguers about, like, they're living the dream. And I tell them this, we're in the podcast, I tell them this, like, tell me a story, and I'll tell them, like, this is just your life. Yeah. You don't realize it, how much fans are a fanboy like me hears that story and is like, this is so cool to hear this story. Yeah. But to him, it's just like, oh, it was a Wednesday night, and I was, I went out to the bar and came home, and, and I didn't know I was pitching. Next thing you know, I'm pitching, and I struck out 3 guys in the 9th and all that. It's like, to you, that was nothing. But to us, it's like, so that's why, so the podcast is like, it's a dream come true. Yeah. That's awesome. And if anything happens out of it, maybe. Yeah. If nothing happens out of it, I don't give a shit.
You had fun while you did it.
And that's kind of like, almost like what you say.
It's like this,
It's almost where I'm at in life.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, it's like, money's not going to do everything. Yeah. It helps.
Right.
For sure.
Absolutely.
But.
It doesn't create happiness, but it allows you to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So you're right. It does not create it, but it opens the avenues to, and that's what I say, like, to rewind back to what we said, could I want more? Everybody does. I want more. But if I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't have my twins. I wouldn't have my wife. I wouldn't be sitting here with you. Yeah. I wouldn't have all the. Do I want to roll the dice? Hey, here's what you got. Right. You want to try for more?
Right.
Nah, man, I'm good, man.
Yeah.
For what I went through and to where I'm at.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. One more question. Talking about legacy. What do you hope your legacy is?
Let me have a drink of this first.
Think hard.
I look at this thing. Legacy, man, I don't want that. My legacy, I just want my son and my daughter to look at me in my casket and say, hey, the guy was the shit. That's what I want. Yeah. I don't give about anybody else. Yeah. No disrespect to anybody.
Yeah.
My wife, my mom, she'll be called, but I want my kids because my dad's going to die and I won't be at his funeral. Yeah. I want them to look at me laying in my thing like this and say, that dude was the shit.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what I want. That's
awesome. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything we need to know about Eric Lopez that I haven't asked you? I mean, we've been through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. And we could keep going.
Yeah.
But I don't think people want to listen to a 4-hour podcast.
No, I mean,
I'm not.
Let me see what else I got. I don't know. I do have some notes here that I was like
things you should cover in the podcast. Anything I didn't ask that we didn't cover?
Nah, I mean, I caught a robber one time. That was not a big deal. Let's see what else.
Before or after you had your gun back?
No, that was before I even lost it. This was in University of Illinois. Winter. This is a good story, actually, though, so let's tell it. So my girlfriend and I girlfriend at that time had gotten into an argument, and I had somehow Friday night went to go do a study session, came back, and the screen was cut off of my window. And I literally thought it was just my crazy-ass girlfriend that did it and tried to get her shit out of the house. So I go into the apartment. This is at 309 East Healy. I still remember it right now. And I walk in, and I go in, and first thing I did was go check the caller ID in my roommate's room. And I look to see if she called me because I was worried that I was hoping she called me. So I look down, and all of a sudden I see a guy prancing out of my room because I was in my roommate's room. He comes prancing out of this room, heading for the door. And I go, what? And I grab him, and I wrap him up, and I'm like, have this guy wrapped up, and I start knocking. He works his way to the outside. So this is the apartments the doors are to the outside. Right?
Okay.
So now we got a door here and a door here, and I'm just banging on the doors, and I'm holding this guy, and I'm like, help, I caught a burglar, help.
No shit.
Finally, it was like a courtyard, right? The two, we're on this side, and there's another hotel, another apartment building on this side that just mirrored ours, right? So we're three, I'm banging on 1 and 2, nobody comes out, I'm holding this guy. This is 1996 probably. And I'm holding him, get to the middle of the courtyard, December, snow on the ground, everything. This little Mexican dude comes out with a wife beater on, in his socks, wife beater and sweatpants, and comes and wraps the guy up and goes, hit him. And I said, I don't want to hit him. I just want this guy out of here. And he held on to this guy till the cops came and arrested the guy. So that was a really good story of when and so I was supposed to go to California for spring break, and I was going to take the girlfriend who cut the screen off, I thought. And then I got summons to court for the week of spring break.
Really?
And couldn't even do the trip. And then we drive down, me and my roommate had to drive down to Champaign, Illinois, hour and a half drive, whatever, get down there. We're waiting in the outside, and they're like, the guy's name was Jerome Williams, I think was his name, and about to go in to testify, and they're like, he pleaded guilty, 6 years in jail because he had a prior, and you guys don't have to.
You don't have to show.
Court. Yeah.
So you wasted your spring break or whatever. Whatever.
So that was another story that I had on here. I don't know.
Dang.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, I don't know, man. I was a 16th member of APN. Do you know that?
No. So you've been around for 6
Yeah,
7
so
years?
this is a good story. So Frank, shout out Frank. He told me to shout him out. So Todd Shipma.
But, hey, Frank, when you hear this, you need to send both of us a text.
Yeah, if you hear this, Frank.
And let us know that you listened this far into the podcast.
Yeah, you motherfucker. So Todd Shipma, you know Todd, right? I've known Todd since, what am I, 52? I've known Todd 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I known him back in Chicago.
No kidding.
So he was good. So the guy, Kenny Irwin, who was the one who gave me the gutter job, and one of his brothers was Sonny and Mikey, and Todd was friends with those guys, a little younger. So we used to hoop against each other like back in the day. We used to call Todd Kramer. That was his, he looked like Kramer, dude. So that was his nickname. So Todd, if you see this and you text me and say Kramer.
Yeah.
So we would all call him that. So I knew Todd for years. So then Todd was living out here, and then told him I was moving out here, whatever, moved out here. And then he was doing he's waste management. So he was doing the garbage for Frank's schools when Frank was just a principal at Badger Prep.
Yeah.
So he had it was at Las Colinas one day, and Todd has a foursome, and he hits me up. He's like, I can't make it. You want to take the foursome and just bring some friends or whatever? I was like, yeah, I'll go. So that's when I ended up meeting Frank the first time.
Kidding.
Las Colinas. We go to, we're at the tournament. We come around to, after the dime, he's doing a putting contest. Frank taking everyone's money. There's a putting contest for, if you make the putt, you win a ticket to win the TV, right? I must have spent $350 trying to make the putt. I kept missing the putt. And like, you take credit card? He's like, yeah. And then he goes, you might as well just have bought the TV by now. Yeah. So I ended up, he texted Todd, like, who's this guy? I love him. And then he told me about the network that day, and I was literally the 16th person to join Above Par.
No doubt.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is crazy.
That's awesome.
And yeah, Frank and I have we've been around the country together, many trips.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Other than that, that's about it for me. I don't.
Well, I appreciate
like I said,
it.
I can sit here. We can sit here.
Yeah, I've sit here forever.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a follow-up sometime.
Yeah.
Actually, I would love to come on your podcast just to sit and watch. I mean, I don't have anything probably to add to baseball. I love baseball, but I just don't.
It's fun. I love it. I mean,
but hey, everybody who comes on gets a gift. You are no different. So I've got you,
man, come on,
a gift.
Thank you very much.
You get a challenge coin for coming on, and then you go ahead and open that.
All right.
Take a look at it.
Let me see what it is.
Hopefully, I gave you the right one.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time.
Nice. This is Eric Lopez, and I went above and beyond.
Just real deals, authentic connections, the kind that heals from Palm Springs to Pine Top Grace. APN's network spans every place. Above Par Network, we're going above and beyond, reaching new heights. In networking realms, scaling the heights. From mixers to golf, our spirits unite. APN's the beacon, our guiding light. So here's to APN, where dreams align. In every connection, a chance to shine. Above and beyond, we'll always strive. In APN's network, we truly thrive.
Before you go, if you want marketing that actually moves the needle, check out lzrmarketing.com. Expert marketing solutions for your business. From websites and social to ads that convert, Liz and Riley help you stand out and grow. That's LZR Marketing, laser focused on your success.
Like, share, and subscribe to Above and Beyond, where excellence meets elevation. Elevate your mindset, one episode at a time.